Did you realize BMWs are built to keep you poor? Was it the heavy oil consumption? Are they heavy on fuel? Is it the maintenance costs under the hood? Or because they're built in Europe that they're actually very, very expensive to buy up front? And is that why they're built to make you poor? No, that's not it. I've actually got 7 reasons why BMWs are actually built and designed to keep you in the poorhouse. Let's get into it now. Why BMWs are literally built to keep you poor comes down to one key reason, and it's the maintenance and operating costs that you would expect over a 10-year time frame. I mean, sure, it's easy to talk about a car when it's 2 or 3 years old. Oh, it didn't cost me very much, and a lot of people brag about that, but then they flip it, and then they're all good. But the reality is there's lots of people out there that like to hold on to their cars for 10 years. This car looks like it was just traded in. It's a 2011, and as a result, it's just over 10 years. So what does a 10-year loss look like? Consumption of your hard-earned dollars look like in a 10-year time frame? Well, before we sum this up with BMW, let's look at some of its key competitors. An average Acura in about 10 years is only going to cost you about $6,000 to $7,000 of repair and maintenance costs. Average Mercedes may only cost you about $11,000 in 10 years. Lexus 10-year costs may only be about $5,000 to $6,000. And a BMW like this, even though they're likely going to be some of the most exciting and interesting driving cars in the luxury car segment, is going to cost you upwards close to $17,000 on average. If you average out 3, 5, 7 series cars, you're likely going to pay severely for that fun and frivolity in the BMW. Therefore, they're going to make you poor by design. So the second reason BMW will literally drive you broke, and by design, is the simple fact it's all about their service model. These cars are designed, a check engine light for almost any little thing that goes off will trigger a check engine light. Check engine light means if you want to get it diagnosed appropriately at the dealership, they're going to charge you minimum $250 diagnostic fee just to plug in that little code reader that literally could take them to the tune of about 2 minutes. That's going to charge you $250 just to tell you what's going on. I know a lot of people out there will say there's more to it than troubleshooting a car. Well, often there is. However, 80% of the time, it's a fairly quick, it will tell you what's going, whether it's an O2 sensor or what have you. Also, they do offer up roadside assistance, but that's just a warm and fuzzy, because if you don't have the maintenance program, they'll give you one freebie, makes you feel all warm and fuzzy, and then when you need it the second time, they're going to charge you and charge you dearly. But there's more to that. There's other factors that go into the service model. As these cars develop generation on generation, they become more and more complex. In other words, much more complicated diagnostic equipment required to troubleshoot some of these problems. You have specialized tools you'll need. So these cars, every generation is becoming more and more complicated for the home do-it-yourselfer to fix. In other words, it's designed by its very nature, not unlike a lot of other luxury car manufacturers, but certainly BMW is designed to make you have to take it into the dealership and pay their aggressive service rate, which is usually at $180 to $200 an hour, plus check engine light diagnostics, plus taxes, plus service fees, plus consumables. Like this, they'll charge you for that. It's all plus, and that's before they even get to fixing it. So it's going to cost you a lot of money every time this thing breaks down and taken into the shop that you can't fix. The only thing you're going to be able to fix in short order are brakes and tires. And now even to do brakes, BMW says you have to plug in and use special diagnostic equipment if you need to bleed those brakes. The other issue with the service model is for the fact that they're trying to be competitive. In doing so, they've extended the oil service intervals, meaning that when you get the free packages for services, really you're only doing it every 15,000, 20,000 kilometers. So in other words, it costs them literally nothing. The problem is that oil is also used for your vanos, your variable valve timing. It can impact your rod bearings, your engine parts, and realistically, with an extended oil service, you're going to start to see leaks, deterioration accelerated, and it's just not going to do yourself a very good favor. The problem is once it starts wreaking havoc with your engine internals, you're usually outside of warranty. After 3 years, you're hooped, it's on you. And now that is a self-driven and sad state of affairs for the consumer. The third reason why BMWs can literally break the bank or make you poor by design, insurance rates. Now, owning the BMW generally means you're going to pay the higher than average insurance rate. Now, the only car brand, Mercedes-Benz, right here on average, for the similar class of vehicle, you can expect to pay slightly more. But almost any other vehicle in the luxury car segment will likely cost you a little bit less than a BMW. And that's with all things equal. Of course, it will be variable depending on your own personal driving record, your profile, and generally your overall driving history will just dictate what you're going to pay regardless. All things equal, BMW is generally a little bit higher than almost any other mainstream brand. The fourth reason why BMWs are actually designed and built to make you poor comes down to one key element that a lot of buyers and owners of modern day BMWs are really frustrated about. It's the very built construction of materials. And what we're talking about specifically are all the plastics. That's right, plastic fantastic. Now, plastic certainly has a great purpose. I mean, plastic can be used for headlight covers, they can be used for valve stem covers. These rockers are great if they're plastic because then they won't rust. That's great. Handles can be plastic. How about mirrors? That's great as a plastic part too. Easy to replace, flexible, and durable. Plastic and a lot of interior parts are great if they're plastic as well, including taillights, rear bumpers. That's all good because ultimately if you run into something, it's flexible and it will come back. So there's a lot of great reasons for plastic to exist in a modern day car. But not under the hood, where BMW tends to use a lot of plastic. A lot of other manufacturers are starting to follow suit too, but there's some key areas where it's a problem. Modern day BMWs are all using turbochargers. Turbochargers spin very fast, create a lot of heat, and of course that heat now imposes itself on a lot of other adjacent parts. Intake manifolds now are plastic. All your cooling system, including the snap fittings, are all made of plastic, as well as your water pump. Yes, that's right. Good old-fashioned electronic or electric water pump now in these cars are made of plastic, as are the thermostats, and everything else that carries that scalding hot coolant through it is made of plastic. But a lot of these parts are even unshielded from turbochargers in some of these cars, whether it's the V8 cars or even in some of these 4-cylinders like we have here, or these straight 6s, all use a lot of plastic under that hood. And as the plastic starts to break down, it cracks, it can cause coolant leaks on your hoses. Your water pump carries coolant through the other half of it. That motor burns out because it gets too hot. That's a problem. Thermostats start to crack, you get leaks, as well as oil leaks, because a lot of the parts, intake manifolds, and a lot of other parts are made of plastic. Now, surely BMW knows that this is a problem because they continue to use these parts in those strategic locations. And in my opinion, that seems to be slightly strategic. But at the end of the day, if all they did is retrofit some of those key areas to aluminum or other forms of metal instead of plastic, they'd have far fewer problems. The cars would last a lot longer because overall, generally speaking, they're well engineered, but you need to retrofit a lot of those plastic pieces out with metal so they just last a lot longer. So the fifth reason they're designed to actually make you poor has to do with the marketing, the wonderful marketing that BMW does. And they actually market to people who have passion for the driving experience, people who love driving, people that believe that this is the ultimate driving machine and feel the necessity to drive these. And of course, a lot of those are younger buyers. Of course, they have the passion, the drive. They see this car, hey, it's depreciated so heavily, but I can afford this. So they go out and they drive this for a couple of years, realize, hey, the fun is there, but the maintenance costs are there too, but it's time to upgrade, so they constantly look for the next best thing because what they have today is great, but the one sitting on the showroom floor is even better. So they're gonna go out and spend the hard-earned dollars and pour all their life savings into that next driving experience because it's been marketed as the ultimate driving machine. And people love them. They drive well. Yes, they do. BMWs always have great driving dynamics. They have their great linear powered inline 6-cylinder engines that make great power. They obviously have great connected steering. Even the latest models that are of electric steering still drive very, very well. They have these unique headlights which have been around for a long time, and the trademark kidney grills that everybody recognizes. Of course, they also have lots of luxury amenities like sunroofs, great mirrors, nice handles, of course a low riding driving stance right there. And of course in this case we're dealing with twin turbo because it's the dual exhaust and it's the 335i, and this happens to be an E92 generation, so it has the N54, and I can speak to this one. This one has lots of problems. But they are a very nicely put together vehicle with well-wearing leather interior and all the amenities. But I can tell you why an early generation pre-facelift E92 like we're seeing right here with the twin turbo N54 335 is sitting on a car lot. It's because one key reason: lacking reliability. Fuel injectors, high pressure fuel pump, thermostat, water pumps, turbocharged wastegate rattle, oil filter housing leaks, intake manifold leaks, boost leaks, and check engine lights galore. So sad state of affairs, they're great cars to drive. I personally owned one and I can speak to that. But the reality is they drive so well, so somebody probably has it in their mind that, you know what, it was great, but the next one's probably going to be more reliable, so they go and spend their hard-earned bucks on the next greatest car because of that amazing BMW marketing. Because the bottom line, people who value their money a lot more use a little more common sense and would most likely buy themselves a vehicle like a Lexus if they really wanted a modern day luxury car. So the next reason BMWs are built to make you poor is what's parked right behind me here. And what are we looking at here? Big, luxurious, beautiful, glorious, full of all of the luxury components, elements, detail that you would possibly expect out of any modern day luxury vehicle. And we're looking at a relatively late model. This is a 2011 BMW 750 Li. Let's take a quick look. Paint isn't the best. Of course, here you have a set of great dual exhaust tips, a little rotted out there. It's a 750 Li, as I mentioned already. Great tail lights, and of course you've got that nice chrome trim along the bottom. Basic looking wheels, and of course I love those handles. Certainly the two-tone gives it a luxury touch. Of course, here this was X-Drive. That means that it's all-wheel drive, so you have all the luxury and comfort even in the worst of driving conditions. Of course, here this is a dynamic xenon. Of course, at the time that was what they used, not LEDs. The big kidney grills that you'll find typically on almost every BMW of this generation. And you look up here and you have large sunroof, an interior that is literally fit for a king. Now, these weren't all that reliable. They had their elements, they had their issues. They spent a lot of time in the shop getting service. You'd spend a lot of money keeping up any premium BMW back in the day. But the big issue is the depreciation. That's what we're talking about today, are the value lost on these vehicles once you drive them off the lot. Everybody knows every vehicle is pretty much a depreciating asset. But the premium BMWs are seriously the worst on the market. Currently, in the latest studies, you find the 7 Series BMW the worst of the worst in terms of depreciation. You can literally expect in a late model 7 Series BMW to lose about 2/3, anywhere from 60 to 70% of its value, poof, up in smoke after the first 5 years. As well, even the 3 Series BMWs, the cars that are more adept to be picked up by the used car, secondhand buyer, the younger drivers, are still driving the prices up a little bit on the used market, but they still depreciate quite heavily to the tune of 50-55% gone in the first 5 years. Compare that to an Acura or Lexus, which generally hold on their value a lot better, and you can expect them to only lose anywhere from 35, 45, maybe at the worst 50% in 5 years. So certainly from a depreciating standpoint, BMW is one of the hardest losers in that market. Now, the seventh and last reason why BMWs are meant to keep you poor, it's because the latest and greatest is always a lot better than the model it replaces. It actually satisfies the insatiable appetite for the next greatest thing for the consumer. For example, what we have here is a great car. This was literally one of the best BMWs M cars in their time. This is an E92 M3, loved by many enthusiasts. Why? Well, it's rear-wheel drive. It has a 4-liter V8, makes about 400 horsepower. You can get an SMG transmission or a manual gearbox. They're great. You can also get convertible or coupe, and they make some of the most amazing exhaust sounds that you can get from any car on the street today. Beautiful M3 have great accents, hood scoops, and a very stunning interior with the latest technology. They also had soft touch and dual quad exhaust tips. But just when you thought BMW made the best car, along comes the next car. The F32 generation here. Obviously some big updates. This keeps people wanting more. They have better front spoiler. They have an updated, revised LED headlight system, improved wheels, of course extra vents here, and a newer, nicer mirror scheme. There's also a better and cleaner interior with the updated M-Drive or iDrive system, depending on the particular car. Revised tail lights always makes it nice, and you can now get X-Drive in a lot of their models. Dual exhaust makes it sweet, as well as we have the 435. That's the turbocharged N55 single turbo straight 6 3-liter engine, makes about 300 ponies. Great car, nice updates, makes you want more. And then there's the next one. And then you get the latest and greatest. You have the G series of cars. This one is actually a sedan, but you can also get in the two-door versions. Of course, they have great updates. You can still get xDrive here in these cars. And this is the M340. And what that means is this is the latest and greatest. Got the B58 engine, which is a turbo 6, and it promises to be far more reliable than the outgoing cars. Of course, here we have great exhaust tips, new for this generation of car. Everything's much more integrated. You get more vents, and you get a great line along the side of the car. They're actually great. Different style of handles. Of course, bigger sunroof than the previous cars. And come down to the front, and it looks a little bit more like an Audi front end. But here you've got a very unique set of headlights and a totally revised front grille with these cross hatches on the 6-cylinder version. Better performance, better reliability. The iDrive system's much improved. You'll notice this car here has heads-up display and much more amenities. The interior is much cleaner on the G Series as well, but now all the gearboxes are replaced with this ZF 8-speed automatic. So again, why people keep getting poorer and poorer is because you see the next car, it's better than the one before, and the next, and the next. And that's just the way it seems to be. It makes you want to go out and buy the next one. You get tired of your generation, move on to the next one. And what they're doing, BMW often with their non-M cars are more powerful and quicker than the outgoing M cars. So it really escalates that if you want the real passion-driven cars, for example, anything from the M generation or M series. And with all of that said, be sure to check right there. You're gonna love that video. It's all about why buyers regret the luxury car purchase. Hope to see each and every one in the next one. Catch you real soon. Bye-bye.